Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. I'm going to talk today about Frankie Fraser, the infamous hitman kind of torturer for the Cray twins and the Richardsons. He worked between the two gangs, you see. But basically, Fraser was not one of these big hefty guys who went up and tattled the miscreants or whoever he was on, whoever they were at odds with. He was a torturer, and he had a couple of hoodlums working with him, big boys, who used to nail his victims to the old warehouses, the wooden floors in the warehouses in London. They nailed them to that, and then Frankie Fraser went to work with a set of pliers, ripping out teeth, and a blowtorch. He frequently carried an axe as well that he attacked people with. And when he was at prison, I think it was HMP Durham, he attacked one of the members of staff there, hitting them with a chair at the back of the head, which caused the prison officer to become blind because it fractured or damaged his optical nerve. So the prison officer was forever blinded by Frankie Fraser, attacked from the back. He didn't attack you from the front. Now people say you wouldn't make criticism of Frankie Fraser to his face. Well, I actually did. He was in Strange Ways, it would be around about 1981, and on the landing A-wing he was on, or A2 landing he was on, and I was the officer in charge of A2 wing during one lunchtime, and I saw Frankie Fraser walking out on the landing, and everything's in lockdown, don't forget. So I said, "Right, Fraser, get back to your cell." "Oh no," he said, "it's all right." He said, the chief says I don't have to be locked up." I said, "The chief can say what he wants, I'm telling you, get back in your cell." So anyway, I went and locked Fraser up. Seriously. And as I got to the door, he'd left the door open. He said, "Shut the door, screw." That was it. He didn't like me, you see. Not passing the time of day with me. But apparently what had been happening was the chief officer, who was frightened stiff really that Frankie Fraser was going to kick off and cause a riot or something like that in his prison, and so he decided that he'd befriend him, and gave instructions that Fraser was to be allowed to be unlocked. So I went to see the chief officer after I'd finished my shift. I said, "Excuse me," I said, "I've had an incident on A-wing today where the inmate Frankie Fraser, who you know, tells me that you've given authority for him to be unlocked." The chief officer said to me, "Yeah, it's only Frankie, it's our Frankie." I said, "No, it's not our Frankie." I said, "That's a very dangerous prisoner, and where he belongs is locked in his cell, and that's where he stays when I'm on duty." I left the chief officer to think about that. I mean, it's a wrongful order. You can't give me a wrongful order. Don't accept them. See, that's the problem. In the prison system, 95% of the staff would do exactly what they're told and don't think about this. But I thought about things, I thought this is potentially dangerous. What happens if Frankie Fraser decides to injure somebody? And he had the potential to do that. I worked as the records officer at Strange Ways, and I kept everybody's records, including Frankie Fraser's. Everybody else had a standard A4 sheets and all that in a hard copy, hard file. Not Frankie Fraser. His records were in a huge cardboard box, and they dated back to the 1940s when he was imprisoned. He'd been flogged twice. What they did was tie him to a metal frame. In the prisons, you get sentenced to this, to be flogged, tie him to a metal frame, and with a cat o' nine tails whip them like 9 lashes. Apparently it was excruciatingly painful. Once you'd had one of them, you wouldn't want it again. But Frankie Fraser, he went for doubles. He went for extras. He had 2 of them. 2 goals, our Frankie, yeah. I had no time for the horrible little shithouse. During World War II, he didn't go to war, not like everybody else. No, he stayed in London robbing people's houses. The husbands were away at war, fighting the Germans. Frankie Fraser was breaking into the houses, stealing what little property they had. Disgraceful, horrible, dishonourable shithouse. And people say he's a hero. No hero that. That is a low-life scumbag. And he didn't do his own work. He had muscle men, big boys, that used to come and grab the boys, and then he'd attack them. Once or twice he'd attack from behind. His trick was to carry an axe, and he chopped people in the head with this axe on a number of occasions. You've only got to go to YouTube and listen to him boasting about his great exploits injuring people. But on a straight one-to-one basis, he wouldn't have a cat in hell's chance. The only problem you've got with battering somebody like Frankie Fraser, he's been hit that many times and he don't feel the pain, you know. Won't matter. He'd just say, yeah, keep going, yeah. And unless you killed him, he'd find you in the end and get you, you know. So you've got to be a bit careful handling some shithouse like that. But honestly, people who say that he's a hero, he was no hero, that man. That was a dirty, despicable shithouse. And that's my little groan for today about the notorious, horrible scumbag Frankie Fraser. And as for people saying you wouldn't say that to his face, absolutely I would, and I did. Not quite those words, words to that effect, if you know what I mean. Words to that effect to let him know that he was definitely not on my Christmas list, which he definitely wasn't. And it's now that time of day, folks. Yeah, where are we? Yeah, I'm not going to sing to you though. You spared that today. I'm going to read you a poem. I might sing in the poem because there's a little bit of singing in it. Yeah, this is by Edward Lear. This is The Owl and the Pussycat. I really like this. It's an amusing little nonsense verse. And for all those of you who are familiar with it, pardon me for ruining your childhood memories of when Daddy used to read you The Owl and the Pussycat. This is by Edward Lear, and I'm about to skin this cat. Ready? That's your last warning, folks. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are. You are, you are. What a beautiful pussy you are. Pussy said to the owl, you elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married too long we have tarried, but what shall we do for a ring? They sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the bone tree grows. And there, in a wood, a piggy-wig stood, with a ring through the end of his nose, with a ring through the end of his nose. Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling? Your ring, said the piggy. I will. So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon. And hand in hand on the edge of the sand, they danced by the light of the moon. The moon, the moon. They danced by the light of the moon. I sincerely hope you enjoyed that. And for all those of you that did enjoy it, stand by because I'll see you on Sick Parade tomorrow. Tales from the Jails. Don't forget to like, subscribe and buy my book.